Call of Duty Black Ops 2 remains my favorite of Treyarch's contributions to the long-running and sometimes formulaic shooter franchise, because it's the one that takes the most wild swings with a branching narrative and big additions to gameplay. The spirit of Black Ops 2 is alive in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. It infuses the standard Call of Duty formula, level designs, and mission ideas that challenge the usual framework in much the same way. It's not as brazen as Black Ops 2 was. That game was admirable for going all out, but not all of its ideas were home runs in execution. And there's no branching narrative or major departures from Call of Duty gameplay in Black Ops 6. Instead, Treyarch works in creative but familiar design additions that break up its campaign, making for an experience that maintains the franchise's cinematic, high-yield explosiveness while also providing numerous opportunities to feel like a super spy and super soldier.
Come on, Case, I need you!
There's a lot of story going on in Black Ops 6, but the gist is that during a covert mission during Operation Desert Storm, your CIA operative play a character, a silent protagonist named Ace, and his teammates run into Black Ops Cold War's Russell Adler. From Adler, you learn about the Pantheon, a paramilitary organization full of American ex-soldiers and others, operating secretly inside the CIA, but with their own evil agenda. The rest of the game is about teaming up with Adler and Black Ops mainstay Frank Woods, along with newcomer Troy Marshall, and trying to figure out who the Pantheon is and how to stop them. It's all standard fare for a game like this. It's in the missions themselves that things get a little less predictable. The covert operations thrust means that while you'll sometimes do missions where you just march forward and shoot guys in an approach that harkens all the way back to the beaches of Normandy in the very first Call of Duty, there are also plenty of other moments where you need to be sneaky and careful. Your mission to bring aboard Master of Disguise Sev is a low-profile trip through mob enforcers so you can assassinate a key underling. You can blast your way in or stealth your way through. And while the level isn't huge or expansive, in an immersive sim way, there are enough options that your choice of how to approach the problem feels meaningful.
Woods was right. You are a good shot.
There are a bunch of opportunities for stealth like this. Black Ops 6 isn't great as a stealth game, enemies are dumb as hell, their peripheral vision is basically non-existent, and you can crouch walk right behind them with zero consequences. But the weak stealth works because the density of enemies in any given area makes up for their lack of brains, and because of how great it feels to crack off a silenced headshot on a soldier right before he calls for help.
Clean kill. No one saw you.
Call of Duty's consistently great gunplay means that when stealth fails, it just leads back to what the franchise is best at. It also means you can save a scuffed attempt at sneakiness by fluidly taking out all the enemies in a room before they realize what's going on, and doing so is satisfying every single time. Several missions use this combination of stealth, action, and freedom in approach to problems to solid effect. When you head back to Desert Storm, the mission takes on a sort of wide linear design, where you jump in a car with your team and drive around a big map, completing objectives as you see fit. Scouting an approach, tagging enemies with a special camera that highlights them for you, gives the whole affair a Far Cry-like feel. The mission isn't as robust or systematically interesting as Far Cry, but that little extra freedom and planning is a great way to lead into Call of Duty's over-the-top battles when you finally start shooting. Completing the side objectives give you score streak rewards like the ability to call in an attack helicopter or an airstrike. Coupled with the many gadgets Black Ops 6 includes, you wind up with a lot of creative, explosive ways to solve problems throughout the mission.
Welcome to the fight.
To Black Ops 6's credit, this formula is never repeated. Instead, Treyarch fleshes out an idea for a single mission, uses it well, and then leaves it. There's a horror-themed level that gets pretty spooky, an infiltration level that pushes your spy abilities a bit, and even a heist level in which you play as each member of the team as they complete their portion of the plot, Ocean's 11 style. When you sneak into a Bill Clinton campaign event to get a senator's retinal scan, you get multiple options for how to set up a chance to photograph him. I followed his aide to learn about a blackmail scheme, stole the compromising material from the blackmailers, and then turned it over in exchange for the shot I needed. You get a couple of opportunities to make choices like this in which way a mission plays out. They don't drastically change the underlying formula, but they break the campaign up and keep things interesting by providing you a little more agency and influence on how a mission shakes out. The creative additions to Black Ops 6's missions are consistently fun and even surprising. While none of the levels blow the doors off in terms of new ideas, the horror level makes liberal use of zombies from that game mode, the heist leans pretty hard on those somewhat anemic stealth mechanics. Their tried and true additions work well with Call of Duty's underlying gameplay. Black Ops 6 lacks Black Ops 2's willingness to take big swings, but it does add some solid variety to the usual Call of Duty experience, even if those additions are still a bit conservative. In addition to Call of Duty's usual solid shooting mechanics, which make all the guns feel punchy, lethal, and exciting to use, Black Ops 6 throws the usual load of gadgets your way. The exploding RC car is back, and you can use things like an adrenaline shot that slows down time, a knife that homes in on enemy faces, and a throwable taser that stuns whoever it hits.
Let's keep moving.
All those items are available in most missions, and you can carry and switch between all of them, giving you more options for creatively addressing firefights. Gadgets give you some options for how you approach fights within the game, and you can also tune your playstyle in a few different ways by purchasing upgrades for your character at the safe house or you spend time between missions. These exist along 3 different tracks related to your physical abilities, weapons, and gear, and the systems incentivize you to scour missions for extra cash, so you have the resources to purchase them. Many of the upgrades are similar to the perks you can choose in multiplayer, while others are minor boosts. There's also the new omni-movement system, which allows you to sprint, slide, and dive in any direction without losing momentum, and it feels pretty good in practice. Gameplay never demands you make use of the system, but it adds a little fluidity to gunfights when you run and slide into a new cover position or pull an action movie dive as you unload on an opponent. It's generally a good addition that makes everything feel a little smoother in Black Ops 6, but I wish it got further emphasis or was amplified to be more necessary and useful.
Bring a safe through this. Keep pushing!
A usual lament for these games is that the story can't keep pace with the gameplay, and that's the case in Black Ops 6 as well. Character dialogue is constantly oscillating between in-the-know military jargon and wall-to-wall cliches. Still, spending time with your team in one-on-one conversations makes for some of the best moments in the game, and Black Ops 6 gives you plenty of opportunities to do so in the safe house. A big part of what makes Black Ops 6 engaging is its phenomenal performances, matched by excellent face scans and animations that capture a lot of nuance in the actors' portrayals. Everybody in this game looks great, and when they're not spouting off strings of cliches, quips, and idioms, there's a fair amount of emotion that makes them relatable. I still don't really get the larger narrative, and the inclusion of elements like the digital Clinton cameo or a raid on a Saddam Hussein palace play like additions to try to make a weirdo story feel more realistic and less meaningless, without accomplishing either.
Saddam's hoarding millions down here.
Hell, this gold toilet's worth that much.
We trade it all for a WMD.
Like a lot of these games, Black Ops 6 gestures in the direction of some larger point about spies and operatives fighting shadowy wars for unaccountable people, but eventually trails off without committing. I got especially lost in a late game turn where you spent a bunch of time inside the mind of the villain during an interrogation. It's a reminder that Call of Duty games often have the problem of acting like they expect you to know more than you do, and thus always causing you to feel like you missed something or are forgetting a crucial point. This person has appeared in like 2 scenes. Should I know who they are? Were they in past games? Should I care about their moral struggles and tragic backstory? The whole sequence is an effort to humanize a character I had almost zero relationship with, so it amounts to a lot of illusory wheel spinning. Another character, Case, also has weird should I know what's going on here moments that recall Alex Mason's brainwashing in the original Black Ops, but to much less interesting or goofy effect. It's a half-baked edition that doesn't have much bearing on the story except right at the end, making for a bewildering conclusion. There are a few things in Black Ops 6, like Case, the villain, and the overarching Pantheon conspiracy, that end up feeling like good ideas that just sort of peter out. While many people may not come to a Call of Duty game for the story, Black Ops 6 disappoints because it does occasionally come close to telling a pretty good one.
The only person real in my life, the only person who saw me, the real me, gone. Forever.
Still, the overall experience of Black Ops 6 is enjoyable, mostly due to its willingness to work in a variety of different ideas and approaches to its levels before bringing you back to the familiar and reliable shooting of a million enemies. Black Ops 6 is at its best when it gives you all its tools and lets you loose to deal with a problem as you see fit. It gives you a lot of those opportunities, adding just enough to the underlying gameplay that you get the satisfaction of formulating a strategy and executing it, as well as the fun of dealing with the fallout, whether it goes to plan or not. Black Ops 6, like Black Ops 2, combines gameplay ideas to make something that feels a little different from the usual for Call of Duty. And while not every system or edition is a knockout, taken together, they make something that's reliably entertaining.
People like me and Adler are the reason we ain't speaking Russian right now.
The Cold War is over, Mr. Woods. That makes you and Russell Adler the last global gunslingers of a bygone era. Take this time to reflect on that. Dismissed.